We are talking The Last Exorcist. This one is directed and written by Robin Bain and stars Danny Trejo, who's really in a supporting role here, but I suppose he's the biggest name. But really leading the charge here, you've got Rachele Brooke Smith and Terri Ivens, both of whom have a quite long career in regards to low-budget B-movies and stuff like that. So this movie isn't actually out until 2021. I got a very early screener for this one, but because it's so far in advance, I can find literally nothing on this movie in regards to information, trailers. There's not a trailer, no artwork, anything. So this movie is going to be this review is a little sparse on visual content, but there you go. So what's the story? Well, we have these two sisters they're actually half-sisters, whose mother was potentially possessed and died when they were quite young, and they are taken in by a priest who also is an exorcist. And they're kind of raised by this particular priest, and later on in life, when these women are both adults, one of the women, who is, I suppose, our main character, is, she's very religious, she's very pious. She takes her religion very seriously, whilst the other one is more of just a kind of a heavy drinker, kind of party girl type, and doesn't really really look too favourably on the church and all this. However, she seems to be the target of some type of demonic possession that may well actually have links back down to her past. And now it is up to the sister to become the first female priest, and therefore an exorcist, basically led by Danny Trejo's character, who was a friend of the priest that kind of brought them up, and try and defeat the evil. Okay. So, before I get into my likes and dislikes, this is an extremely low-budget movie. I suspect this movie is some sort of a mockbuster type, obviously because we have the Exorcist remake coming out in 2021. So, this obviously is made to kind of fall into some of the the publicity for that one, would imagine. So, what did I like? Okay, I actually thought the scenes that involved our sisters together were quite strong in a way. I actually thought these two actresses did quite a good job of playing sisters, even though they're so diametrically different. You did feel a connection with them. I think they actually played off each other very well and did seem like they had a bond, even though they have vast differences between them. So I actually kind of quite liked some of the scenes that involve those two. There are a couple of instances where I think there are some fairly good practical makeup. To be honest with you, they're only short scenes. They don't take up a lot of the plot here. But there's a couple of instances here where I think there are some fairly good kind of practical makeup and effects. I also have to say, on a kind of a technical level, I think things like the cinematography, the camera work, the lighting was actually done to a fairly kind of good standard, which is clearly a very low budget movie. But nonetheless, I think at least on the technical side of things, I think it's fairly proficiently made, and actually kind of gives it a more of a professional feel maybe than the budget you'd probably previously guess. But I got to tell you, this movie was not particularly watchable in a lot of ways, and I don't like to be kind of too hard or I don't want to kind of devalue someone's work, but this movie was a bit of a tough watch, I'm not going to lie to you. So let's talk about the story first of all. To be honest with you, I felt the story was quite light. I didn't really feel a lot particularly happens, and when things do happen, they seem to be somewhat illogical. So we have this, our pious daughter, right, becomes a priest. Now, obviously, it does have somewhat of a kind of a feminist message, because obviously, in reality, the Vatican doesn't have female priests, as far as I know. I'm an atheist, so, but the movie, this is what the actual movie says. But she levitates, and they take that as a sign of God that she can become a priest. But then immediately she becomes an exorcist without any real training. So, you know, she's trying to exorcise her sister when she's possessed, and thinking, well, you've literally just become ordained, and now you're kind of doing an exorcist on your family member. And I didn't really understand why Danny Trejo's character couldn't do it, because he seems to be an already existing kind of exorcist who kind of knows what he's doing. So I didn't really understand why he doesn't just do the exorcist. The movie never really kind of brings that up. The exorcism scene itself ends in a kung fu fight with this Satanist, or maybe he's the incarnation of the devil. It's never really explained. This guy we see kind of peppered through the movie sort of turns up, and there is literally a martial arts fight between our pious sister and this guy. And I thought, was this going to be ironic? No, it isn't. It's literally the climax of the film. The acting, although I quite liked, as I say, some of the scenes here between the two sisters that did seem quite natural, I would say even those actresses in the rest of the movie still don't have particularly good performances. There are certain scenes where I think they do well, but there are certain scenes where I didn't think their actresses really did a particularly good performance. But at least they had partially good performances, because some of the other cast here, including this kind of like this bad guy, are terrible, absolutely awful. It just, it's so bad. I'm surprised that it was left in the film. Let me just put it like that. But the whole movie is just so cheap. It seems to just skip through plot points. The plot doesn't really make a lot of sense. There's very little actual effects on this. I mean, granted, this movie may be a wow. So it didn't say that it was unfinished, but there's a possibility that it may have been. For example, when our possessed people, and this is, to be honest, this version. And if this is in the real movie, this is just embarrassing. When we have our possessed people talk, if you see other possession movies, they'll have kind of like a weird satanic voice, and it'll be kind of like, obviously, technically speaking, it's going to be sort of computer modulated. But here it's just people putting on strange voice. And it's embarrassing. It is embarrassing. I really hope, it's not a big fix, but that to me would be one quick fix I would do. Because those scenes are just, I was cringing watching these scenes, because it's just embarrassing for the actors. And it needed a better, kind of more, sort of a better soundtrack as well, to be honest with you, because I thought it seemed really lacking, and kind of like, again, when you have these like ridiculous kind of performances, and you have pretty, nondescript music, it just kind of doesn't really help at all. Overall, I've got to be honest with you, I don't want to rag on it too much, but I really can't recommend this movie. It's a shame, because I enjoy low budget B movie horrors, but this was just not good, without really being particularly entertaining. Not really a lot happens, and what does happen is just beyond silly in occasion, and the performances aren't great, so there's not a lot really I can say to really recommend this one. And I'm going to go quite low. I'm going to go 2 out of 10. This one was quite hard viewing, I'm not going to lie to you. Like I've said, maybe, because it was so far out, that maybe this version I saw wasn't completed. But normally when I get screeners that are this far out, it normally says there's FX missing and things like that. This one did not say that, so it could well be that this is actually the finished product. So just a 2 out of 10, one of the lowest scores I've given in quite some time. So sorry if you were involved in this movie. But that's just my opinion on it. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.